The MV La Joola was more than just a ferry. It was a symbol of hope and connection for the people of Senegal. It was a lifeline for the people of Senegal, connecting the mainland to the southern Casamance region. This region, rich in culture and resources, was often isolated due to its geographical separation. The Casamance region, separated from the north by the Gambia, relied heavily on the La Joola for transportation of people and goods. The ferry was essential for the daily lives of many, providing a crucial link for commerce, education, and family connections. The ship was a symbol of connection, a vital link that bridged the geographical divide. It was a beacon of unity, bringing together communities that would otherwise remain isolated. But the story of the La Joola is also one of immense tragedy. Despite its importance, the ferry was plagued by issues of overcrowding and maintenance. On a stormy night in September 2002, the unthinkable happened. The ferry, carrying more than twice its capacity, faced the wrath of the Atlantic Ocean. The vessel, overcrowded and ill-prepared for the rough seas, capsized off the coast of Gambia. Panic ensued as thousands were thrown into the dark, turbulent waters. Thousands were plunged into the dark waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The chaos and confusion made rescue efforts incredibly difficult. The tragedy sent shockwaves throughout Senegal and beyond. Families were torn apart, and communities were left in mourning. It remains one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history, a stark reminder of the importance of maritime safety and the human cost of negligence. The disaster highlighted the urgent need for better safety regulations and enforcement. This is the story of the MV La Joola, a story of loss, courage, and the enduring search for answers. It is a tale that continues to resonate, reminding us of the fragility of life and the enduring spirit of those who seek justice and remembrance. The MV La Joola was built in Germany and launched in 1990. It was specifically designed for the purpose of serving the Casamance region of Senegal. The ship was intended to transport passengers and cargo between the capital Dakar and the southern city of Ziguinchor. The ferry was designed to accommodate approximately 550 passengers and crew. It had various amenities including sleeping cabins, a cafeteria, and even a discotheque. However, despite its initial promise, the ship's operational history was plagued by issues. There were reports of mechanical problems and concerns about maintenance. These issues would tragically come to a head on that fateful night in September 2002. The stage was set for a disaster that would claim thousands of lives and forever scar the nation of Senegal. September 26, 2002, began like any other day in the port city of Ziguinchor. The MV La Joola, having completed its usual rounds, was being loaded with passengers and cargo. Families eagerly anticipated their arrival in Dakar, students prepared for their return to universities, and traders loaded their goods for market. The atmosphere was lively, filled with the anticipation and excitement of a journey about to begin. As the afternoon wore on, the La Joola, its decks teeming with life, prepared to set sail. Little did anyone know that this routine journey would soon transform into a desperate fight for survival. As the La Joola pulled away from the port of Ziguinchor, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of anticipation and unease. A critical danger was already present. The ship was severely overcrowded. Passengers were crammed into every available space with little regard for safety or comfort. While the official passenger manifest recorded a little over 600 passengers, the reality was far more alarming. The true number was estimated to be over 2,000. A staggering figure that far exceeded the ship's capacity. Many passengers were forced to stand on the vehicle deck, clutching onto whatever they could find to maintain their balance. This added to the ship's instability, making it more vulnerable to the slightest shift in weight or weather conditions. The overloading was a common occurrence driven by economic necessity and a lack of alternative transportation options. People had no choice but to risk their lives for a chance to reach their destinations. Driven by economic necessity and a lack of alternative transportation options, many saw the La Joola as their only hope. This disregard for safety regulations was not just a matter of oversight, but a systemic issue that had been ignored for far too long. Coupled with the impending storm, the situation was a ticking time bomb. The storm would prove to be a fatal combination, turning an already dangerous situation into a catastrophic one. As the ship sailed into the night, the weight of its human cargo far exceeding its intended capacity, the passengers were unaware of the peril that lay ahead. The weight of its human cargo far exceeding its intended capacity, the Joola was a disaster waiting to happen. Unbeknownst to those on board, the Joola was sailing into a perfect storm of negligence and poor judgment, a storm that would have devastating consequences. The Joola was sailing into a perfect storm of negligence and poor judgment, a storm that would have devastating consequences. The seeds of disaster had been sown long before the ship left port, and now they were about to bear their tragic fruit. Section 5, capsizing the MV Joola meets its fate. As the night wore on, the weather conditions deteriorated. The MV Joola, battling against strong winds and choppy seas, was no match for the fury of the storm. The overcrowded and top-heavy ferry began to list dangerously. Panic ensued as the ship tilted further, throwing passengers off balance and into the churning waters. Within minutes, the unthinkable happened. The Joola capsized, trapping hundreds beneath its hull and plunging thousands into the dark, unforgiving ocean. The speed at which the disaster unfolded was terrifying. The once familiar vessel, now a tomb in the raging sea, served as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the unforgiving power of nature. Section 6. Struggling for survival, stories of courage and loss. Amidst the chaos and terror of the sinking ship, stories of extraordinary courage and heartbreaking loss emerged. In the face of overwhelming odds, individuals displayed acts of bravery that defied the dire circumstances. Some risked their lives to save others, while many faced the ultimate sacrifice. Survivors clung desperately to anything that floated, pieces of wreckage, life jackets, each other. In the freezing waters, every second felt like an eternity. The will to survive pushed them to their limits as they battled the elements and their own fears. The night air was filled with the cries of the lost and the prayers of the desperate. The darkness seemed to amplify the sense of isolation and hopelessness, yet within it, there were moments of solidarity and shared humanity. One survivor, a young student, recounted the harrowing experience of escaping from the sinking ship, the memory of his friends trapped below deck forever etched in his mind. He spoke of the haunting silence that followed the initial chaos, a silence that was more deafening than the screams. Another, a mother, described the agonizing decision to let go of her child's hand, the waves swallowing her baby before her eyes. Her story is a poignant reminder of the unimaginable choices faced by those in the grip of disaster. These first-hand accounts serve as powerful reminders of the human cost of the tragedy. They highlight the personal stories behind the statistics, giving a voice to the voiceless and ensuring that their experiences are not forgotten. They paint a picture of despair and resilience, of lives lost and the indelible scars left on those who survived. The emotional and psychological impact of such events lingers long after the physical wounds have healed, shaping the lives of survivors in profound ways. Section 7, A Rescue Too Late, the Aftermath and the Search for Answers. The first distress signals from the MV Joola were met with confusion and delay. The rescue operation, hampered by miscommunication and a lack of resources, was slow to get underway. Precious hours were lost, dimming the hopes of finding survivors in the vast expanse of the Atlantic. When rescue boats finally arrived at the scene, they were met with a horrifying sight. A debris field littered with bodies, the stench of fuel and death heavy in the air. The few survivors found clinging to life were traumatized, their bodies battered, and their spirits broken. The delayed response and the inadequate rescue effort fueled public outrage and despair. The nation of Senegal grappled with the enormity of the tragedy, demanding accountability and answers. Section 8. Finding Fault. The Investigation and its Findings. The official investigation into the MV Joola disaster pointed to a cascade of errors and negligence as the primary causes of the tragedy. The overcrowding, far exceeding the ship's capacity, was identified as a major contributing factor. The investigation also revealed a lack of proper maintenance and safety regulations. The ship's instability, exacerbated by the overcrowding and the rough seas, ultimately led to its capsizing. The delayed rescue response further compounded the tragedy. The investigation, while providing some answers, did little to alleviate the grief and anger of the victims' families. The sense of injustice and the unanswered questions continue to haunt the nation of Senegal. Section 9. Remembering Joola, a legacy of grief and lessons learned. The MV Joola disaster remains a deeply painful memory for Senegal and the world. The tragedy claimed the lives of over 1,800 people, leaving behind a legacy of grief, anger, and unanswered questions. Memorials stand as solemn reminders of the lives lost and the lessons learned. The disaster highlighted the critical importance of maritime safety, proper maintenance, and adherence to safety regulations. It also exposed the human cost of negligence and the need for accountability. The story of the MV Joola serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of prioritizing safety and the enduring impact of such tragedies on individuals, families, and nations. It is a story that must be told, remembered, and learned from to prevent future tragedies.